Welcome, everyone. I'm really happy to be here with this session, this amazing session. My name is Rika Amaral. I'm one of the co-founders of Positive Blockchain, also one of the colleagues for Cello Europe. And we are here in this session, Blockchain Innovation for Climate Action. And this session has different expertise, like experts and projects. They are thinking about how to use new technologies or new processes for combating climate change. And we're going to talk about sustainability, climate action, community empowerment, and how new sets of data can help in this fight. Here with me, I have like a panel full of women that I'm really happy that's women one only. So I have Marina. She's a team lead of HIV and health group at UNDP, focused on equitable and resilient health and climate systems. And she works identifying opportunities to enhance data management, transparency, and program effectiveness. I have Anna, is a CEO at Plastics, leveraging innovative technologies for transparency and efficiency in circular economy initiatives and waste management. And Nina, that works representing game forests, pioneering new methods for transparent conservation funding, integrating technology to empower local communities. So for them to present themselves, I'm going to make one question for each, and then we open the discussion so they can tell a little bit about themselves, what they do. So I'll start with Marina. Given your extensive experience in climate resilience and health equity, what gaps or opportunities do you see for new technologies to improve outcomes for vulnerable communities?
Thanks, Rika. I'm really happy to be here on this all-female panel. Yay! So some of the biggest gaps that we're seeing in climate resilience and health equity is in real-time data, in trust, and in accountability. In many of the settings where I work, government entities and community organizations working in the field, in the health field, are very stretched. They're responding to health services, or they're tasked with delivering health services in emergencies, supporting the most vulnerable, and responding to the escalating impacts of climate change. Yet the systems that are there to protect and support them are often underfunded, fragmented, and not as transparent or coordinated as they could be. And so at UNDP, this has led us to exploring how blockchain can enhance both transparency and system resilience, whether by improving visibility in pharmaceutical procurement, for example, or enabling traceable climate health finance flows, or embedding smart contracts into decentralized health and supply chain systems. One exciting area of work I wanted to mention here is one that we're working with a country partner in the use of blockchain and AI in climate and health early warning systems. Imagine a data system that is collecting meteorological and health information, but has massive, that is often fragmented or has massive gaps in incomplete and disconnected, but still is urgently needed to produce life-saving alerts. And blockchain, or what I know about it, can help validate risk triggers and ensure that timely, verifiable data is accessible and produces the right health responses. And at the same time, AI can model patterns and fill in the data gaps that often exist in early warning systems, especially in low resource settings. So together, these technologies could make early warning systems more reliable, more responsive, and ultimately more life-saving. But I think, we also know that technology on its own is not a silver bullet. So for tools like these to work and be truly transformative, we need them to be co-designed with communities and embedded within strong public institutions. So thank you. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. It's so amazing to see how this new set of data, as you said, like the health data can help also in climate efforts, and how this technology can help the transparency and using this data for that with the AI, with different kind of tools that we have now, as you said, right? So this is really interesting. I'm really happy to have you here. Now I want to ask Anna, can you share the main driving force behind your work in circular economy and sustainability, and how you see emerging technologies like blockchain playing a role in achieving your vision?
Yes, of course. Thank you, everyone to invite me in this space, and as well this female panel empower us and empower myself to explain a little bit or more about what we are doing. Of course, we have decades and decades that there is a lack in the waste management. So we don't have the real information that what we are doing with the waste in general. And I think this is something that the consumers start to know and to need to know what about what happened with the waste. And if we are speaking about if we are eco-friendly or that we are recyclers or we are doing all the best practices to in sustainability impact, I think it's words that go with the wind and has to be really with a concrete and transparency solutions. And obviously the data is a very powerful tool to show to the consumers, to this generation and the future generations, solution from the last decades that there is this lack of transparency with the waste. So the idea in plastics was 6 years ago with this moment of crisis of what we can do to have a transparency in the waste management that is a recovery, the plastic in this case, but in all the different waste materials, how we are recycling that and how we are using in a second or third life these materials. So make as a protocol, but with transparency, traceability, and the data driving, and to create this in a very clear supply chain. And this was like our really way to say blockchain is really powerful. Technology is a powerful tool to make this and real impact and concrete solutions in the waste management industries. So basically, this was like we're driving to grow the platform we have. Is a platform with a friendly Web2 friendly user and with all the tools, the very powerful and good tools from the blockchain to show the data in a public way and an understandable way for this generation, the next generation, and the consumers can trust that this is the real data connecting from the recovery to the recycling to the new way to produce these recycled materials.
That's really cool. Thank you. It's really nice to see also, how transparency in this waste management is important, right? Because it's a problem that we have everywhere. And so it's really important to have a way for us to track and do better, right? Like more effective. So it's really, really cool. Really cool to have you here and really happy to the work you're doing as well. So I'd like to also to ask a question, Nina. So what motivates Gainforest's unique approach to conservation finance, and how do new technology support its theory of change?
Hi, everyone. So I'm really honored to be part of such an amazing panel here with Marina, Anna, and of course, Vika. Just to reintroduce myself, I am Nina, the Founders Associate at Gainforest. So before entering the Web3 space, I've previously worked in climate policy and finance in the Philippines with engagements in the UNFCCC and the Green Climate Fund as part of the Civil Society Observer Network. So a quick background on Gainforest. We are a decentralized science nonprofit established in 2022, very new. We are developing equitable tools with AI and blockchain technology for biodiversity conservation and innovating climate funding mechanisms. Currently, we are engaging with more than 30 indigenous and local communities from the global south, specifically in South and Southeast Asia, East Africa, and Latin America. So, regarding your question, what motivates Gainforest approach to conservation finance? So, our approach is actually driven by two very simple but very critical challenges in global conservation. First, we want to address the severe imbalance in biodiversity data distribution worldwide. As you guys probably know or not, over 80% of biodiversity data is actually concentrated in North America and Europe, with less than 20% in the global majority regions. And this disparity is particularly alarming since these regions host many of the world's most biodiverse ecosystems while bearing the brunt of climate change impacts. So we at Game Forest, we believe that we cannot value what we cannot measure. So making data collection essential for guiding environmental decisions in the most vulnerable areas. So second, we also want to tackle the fundamental flaws in traditional conservation funding mechanisms. So the current system suffers from limited transparency in fund allocation, slow and very, very expensive verification processes, and minimal funding reaching frontline communities who are actually doing, the environmental work, doing the work on the ground. So um, my experience in climate finance, along with Green Forest's engagement with our local community partners, it all has shown how challenging it is for small organizations to scale under very restrictive budgets and project-based funding constraints. So this is where our theory of change comes in. So it's basically asking, what if we use blockchain technology to bring biodiversity data on chain and link funding directly to verified impact? So we're leveraging emerging technologies from the Web3 public good space. In particular, we're actually, for example, collaborating with HyperCerts Foundation and Cello to develop eco-certs or environmental hypercerts, which are basically digital tokens that represent verified environmental impact to create a marketplace for conservation partners to showcase their work with solid evidence. This is to enable donors to confidently support verified initiatives. Um, so yes, in terms of our long-term vision, we've also have this framework of a step-by-step pathway where communities could actually get more funding as they gather more environmental data. So we want to help communities first have no tools to collect data. Then we support them to start collecting basic information about their local environment, and as they grow, develop skills to analyze these data themselves, and so that they can finally build reliable systems to continuously monitoring their ecosystems. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's really great. I think that this work is super important to, how can we use these new data to, empower and fund new conservation streams, right? And I think like in this conversation that we all presented is such amazing projects, and I see the different views from each one or different streamlines. So, one talk about climate finance flows, other one like circular economy and transparency, and also, how to utilize biodiverse data to empower also indigenous and local communities. And I think those can all weave together somehow, right? And a different points of view, and it's really great. So I think that's like a question now for everyone. So as we have like these different data streams or different point of views, like effective collaboration across sectors is crucial for climate sustainability success, right? So all the work that you're doing. So how do you think these emerging technologies or even the work that you do can improve coordination and partnerships between public institutions, private sector, and civil society or local communities? Maybe I can start with Marina with this, and then we can go around, and please jump in the conversation, so you can have all your point of views on that.
Sure. And thanks again to colleagues for presenting. Again, it's super interesting. I mean, to me, collaboration between sectors occurs at events such as this one, because I think, what I've been realizing in recent years is that we're all beholden to our bubbles, right? We, within the UN, we only speak to other UN agencies. Within technology communities, people only speak to technologies. But how do we understand each other? And how do we understand kind of government needs, civil society needs? So I think, conversations such as the summit, conversations that, my colleagues at UNDP, FinLab, and innovation team have been trying to organize for technologists to understand what issues governments and communities are facing is really important. I think my other, kind of word of, an idea or caution is the fact that as we, dive in deeper into these technologies, they have as much opportunity for, democratization, decentralization, all the positive things, but also exclusion, because they're not available to everyone. And so I think, focusing on educating the civil society, focusing on education, but also active engagement. So not just, oh, this is blockchain, this is how you can use it, but being very specific about how it can be applied to a problem or to an issue that a community or government is facing. So I think that would be kind of my message. Thank you.
Marina says something that is very, very, very powerful, is a technology to apply. So after 6 years that plastic is existing, one of the most important things was to find a concrete solution applies in the market, and the transparency and traceability, but as well the transversal view of the different kind of actors. I mean, technology is powerful with the connection of worldwide. We are operating in over 20 countries, that recovery entities, waste management companies, or any other companies that are producing or use our plastics or another waste, or they want to show their impact because they have a marketing strategy or sustainability departments or reporting or regulatory things, are a big ecosystem that different parts of regulation entities in countries, emerging countries that didn't have the very properly structured to finance their way to recover. And the technology is the powerful tool we are doing to arrive to all this worldwide way to work, but as well, not only words about blockchain applying to something concrete, to something realistic, to something tangible, and with a transparent traceability, real data, real numbers. So this, Marina said, this point of education, of course, is one of the pillars, because as well is the part of the human behavior, the way we are in our sector, the way we are consuming as well, the way we want to show our impact, if the new consumers needs to know about that, which is the impact I'm doing consuming, but as well be conscious about which is the impact I can make to reduce my way to consume, or to reduce this problem of the waste in our sector. But these concrete solutions and practical solutions with blockchain, with this technology, with the way a very sounds complicated for some ones, but it's really practical way that Nina was saying, like controlling the funding, which the funding is going to the places in a tangible way, decentralizing this way to do it, is something really powerful, but as well really applied in the real world, and with data, and be realistic, and this is the best way to be activist, like realistic, concrete, and practical in the focus way to do. And this, for the part of plastics, was really complicated because we open a very big world of what we can do, and then we were concreted to the way to arrive to make business, making this kind of using technology, apply it to the practical solutions, concrete, easy way to do, and real, very innovative way to do as well.
Just to add, in my very young experience working in the climate and environmental sectors, I'm sure everyone in this room would agree that not one sector has it all. There's no absolute solution when it comes to climate and sustainability, and that we really need these collaborative approaches to bring everyone into the table. And blockchain technology has this tremendous potential, not just within the Web3 ecosystem, but as an integration point for local and international climate policies, for example. But the key here is creating systems that actually bridge different sectors' needs and priorities. So actually listening to what you know each sector needs, and just echoing on Marina and Anna's sentiments about the importance of educating. And I think it's very important to really properly translate our solutions, especially to those, still unfamiliar with technology and Web3. All of this is like, could be a lot to private sector, data private sector, public institutions. So in ways that in each sector can understand and benefit from. So technology can sort of serve as this transition layer to create a common ground where different perspectives can align around our shared goals in climate and sustainability. So, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you all touched really important points, and something that I always say as well, like how technology is a tool, something that is already said, and how important is like data, like realness, like if it's real data, like education. And the end of the day, is like how this technology become invisible. There's always said already here in the summit that I think it's also this, when you get like an education and people implement and listen to people, the technology becomes invisible, and you just use the real data, right, that you're getting from it for connecting all the sectors. And for that, I think, I want to, connect to my next question, that is about transparency, right? So all of these need a lot of transparency to work. And it is very critical for the work you all doing. So in all your experience, how like greater transparency has drive positive environmental impact or community impact, how this has changed, maybe as we are talking also of real use cases, maybe someone has a nice real use case for talking about how this had helped or changed the way things are done or being done or was done. And maybe I can start with Anna with that.
Yes, Rika. For me, transparency, I don't want to be like rude in that point, but has to be something really mandatory. So we are speaking about sustainability and social impact as something that is regarding more non-profit, institutional, maybe a volunteer. And I think in that point of the world, at that point of the timeline, is something that has to be mandatory. Is something that transparency has to be regulated, and not in the dictatorial way. I say in that is the best way to continue to survive in this planet. So and in these ecosystems. So. Blockchain is not something new. We have about, I don't know, more than 10 years using blockchain, but it's not arriving like in the quicker way that we would like in the sustainable part. I think we'll be more accelerating with that, with these solutions we are speaking about it. But transparency, thanks to the blockchain and technology, is something that arrives around the world in very short time, in a very practical way, and as well is the tool with I mentioned before is the tool to arrive with institutionally, with any kind of sectors or data that we need to make this as a regulatory, as something mandatory, as solutions that can be part of our daily basis. So for me, transparency is something that has to be mandatory in all senses. Obviously, we are focusing now in social and impact solutions, of course, but more for that reason, more. So in plastics, for example, the information that we are using as a data collection information of this, of recovery, of recycling, of the producer in a digital certification that we call NFT. That is a word that sometimes the people say, NFT, what is that? Is speculated. No, the people need more education, more tools to know about what is an NFT. It's a product, a digital, very powerful product to use, to have this information that no one can manipulate, and is real and is transparent. And this, I think, is the powerful thing and the mandatory that we must to start to do in that way.
Anyone would like to jump in or add something?
Nina, do you want to come in?
You can go first, Marina.
So, I mean, I think, look, I think from what Anna was saying, it's clear that technology is just a tool to maintain transparency, right? And transparency does have to be at the level of government policy or private sector company policy, and then blockchain can be helpful in maintaining that. And I think I wanted to reflect, Rika, on what you said, on how a live example, and I think how complex it is. So I will give you an example of some of the work that we were trying to do with our technology, right? So ensuring that there is greening of supply chains in procurement, in health procurement, right? So we know that health procurement is really complex. It's not just the production of health commodities, it's also the transport and so on. But for a pharmaceutical company to release information on how much, greenhouse gas emissions they produce, it's a very complex issue. And then if they are transparent, how does that impact them, and how does that motivate others to do the same? So to me, transparency is also some sort of, there needs to be some sort of activism involved in transparency, right? Because once you do it, maybe your competitors do it as well, right? And I think from the work that both Anna and Ninia are doing, it's evident that there's also this, that you can provide a good example for others to compete in the same field. Thank you.
Thank you.
I definitely agree that transparency is something that should be mandatory. At least for Gainforest, transparency is the very foundation of what we do, why we do things, and simply because transparency builds trust and it increases motivation for all stakeholders involved. For instance, at Gainforest, we have this funding mechanism, which we call conservation data income mechanism. So it creates just a very simple cycle where communities collect biodiversity data and receive immediate incentives for it. So when communities can instantly see the results of their work and receive payments directly, no middleman, their motivation to protect nature, biodiversity would also significantly increase. So we've even extended this approach to our environmental hypersearch, as we've mentioned earlier, and it's just really about standardizing in ecological impact and creating these transparent connections between conservation activities and verifiable outcomes, without expensive middlemen or complicated processes. So communities could clearly demonstrate their conservation work, and donors see exactly where their support goes, and it's really that simple. And then I also just wanted to share a powerful real world example. So one of our partner NGOs in the Philippines, in the southern Philippines, mapped 5,000 trees as part of a grant with MIT to calibrate machine learning for carbon satellite predictions. And years later, when the local mayor cut down mangroves in the area and denied responsibility, claiming the mangroves were already like this way before, our partner had the data to prove otherwise. So, with transparent, verifiable information, they contacted the federal environmental ministry, and now the mayor is required to replant the mangroves. So, that's just one of the many real world impacts of how transparency could really bring accountability in this space.
That's true. I think accountability is a big thing, and I think all the things that you said, the trust were mentioned, and how transparency comes not only from technology, right? I mean, as also you mentioned, right? So we need it. Also, health systems, they need transparency to work and to do the data that are being provided and collected and everything else. And without transparency, we cannot have these connections or this integration that we've been talking about sectors and organizations. And I think this kind of a transparency is also that I think Nina mentioned about the trust, and it's also how you get to community engagement. And I think Nina works also a lot with that and the centralization of this engagement. So how important it is for us to bring the community, bring the people that we are working with, or in the location we are working with, to onboard in the work we are doing, as is in waste management, as is in biodiversity conservation, as in health systems, financial flows. So how do you think decentralized technologies or can help this community? I think you have some examples to take the ownership of this environment initiatives to in what kind of challenges you see to be addressed. And it could be new technologies or also any kind of work that you've done with communities in your different sectors. So I'll ask Nina first, and then we can go for everyone.
Okay, so I think that at least for Gate Forest, a key focus for us is localizing technology. So we envision communities to become local and indigenous data scientists, owning and building their technology. So this shift from consumers to creators ensures that solutions could really truly address local needs and incorporate traditional ecological knowledge. And so this inclusive approach is particularly important when we consider technological biases. So just to give an example, like when the first image classification algorithms came out, they were biased and couldn't detect people with dark skin color. So this happened because AI algorithms reflected the worldview of their creators, like often programmers from North America in the Silicon Valley. And that's why it's so important that the same people who use the technology should build the technology or at least co-develop them, so that their worldview is reflected in the tools that they depend on. And another example is that of how we put these principles into practice is having sort of this data council where we bring regional representatives to shape data policies together. So it's not just about top-down rules. It's about ensuring that all voices would influence how data is being handled. Um, so yeah, building also on this foundation, we are developing new technologies. For example, we have a decentralized structure we call the Nature Guild that lets communities collectively govern their resources, manage shared funds through transparent and programmable rules. And of course, despite these promising approaches, there would still be significant challenges. Like decentralized technologies still require internet access, for example, which remains a major barrier in many remote regions where we work at. So while solutions like Starlinks and are helping bridge this gap, accessibility continues to be a limiting factor. And of course, perhaps I think one of the most concerning things as well is the risk of data colonialism, and where outside organizations could extract valuable knowledge without fair compensation or allowing communities to maintain control. So our models, really we want to directly address this by ensuring that our communities determine how their information flows and receive equitable benefits. So keeping ownership where it belongs, to the actual people closest to the land.
Yeah, it's true. Like, I think it's great to give voice and people be able to decide by themselves, right? And empower them to engage with the work they've been doing, also the development they are doing. I don't know if Marina and Anna want to jump in on the community engagement or challenges that you see that must be addressed in this point with this work that you're doing.
Well, I go. For example, for us, for the communities we are working in the over 20 countries, this decentralized technology help us well to finance to empower to new resources to finance their projects. So with the additional resources. So, for example, after we are verifying the data, documental data, thanks to AI data that is coming from the logistics, proof of payment, material that is recovered, manufactured, and then sell to the recycle. This is collected in this digital certificate I mentioned before, called NFT. This is if they want to sell this product, product, this NFT, became a plastic credit. And this plastic credit is always connecting with a roadmap. So what we are promoting or verifying with this roadmap, that is a concrete solution to add finance to different needs they have. For example, communities that need new machinery of a roadmap, they have a budget for the part of the new machinery to make pellets or material to manufacture more material. Open new areas of collecting waste, uniforms, medical camps as well, educational programs for how to recover this material, the protocols to recover these materials. So always is or pitch cleanups, but always is related to a roadmap that we are taking the verified and the control of this roadmap can be achieved, and they are selling this to finance a roadmap. So this is the system help us as well to control the data, but to know how the fundings are using. To how and to do. And then when the roadmap is done, and this the way we are working is we are creating the impact report, and this impact report is showing the before and the after of this roadmap. So the powerful thing is that all the communities has the opportunity with this mechanism to have a new way to fund, or a new way to finance, a new way to grow their business, and to empower the management sector of the waste management sector. So this is something that is very concrete, and as well really like we can escalate. This is the thing, that the powerful of escalating in a very short time, but in a very big volume.
And let me just add, just two very quick points, I think, to what Ana and Nina already said. I think, at UNDP, we serve as a convener, of government, civil society, private sector. And I think to reframe the question a little bit, who do we consider a community, right? And how do we make, activists out of policymakers or private sector partners? I think that is, kind of the big question for all of us, right? How do we engage them? And that also brings me to the point that we made earlier around education, right? And the fact that there's technology available, solutions available that they can rely on. And I think another point that I really wanted to make, and I think this is a good space to make it, is that health and climate, health and environment, are increasingly becoming a point of greater activism, but also greater surveillance and kind of negative, attention, right? And so I think in that, technology can be helpful in rapid emergency support, fund transfers, and so on. And so I think, again, I think that is something we may see more of in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very interesting how your approach is to community, and it's true. What Marina also said now is like, how can we turn who's the community, how you turn policymakers into activists, right? So I think is also a very important point, and how all this data is being used. We are coming to the end of our panel, but I want to open the questions as well before I give there's like 2 questions, and so let's choose like one. I think so I think the first question is, there is a high level of pollution and deforestation in Africa. Can we begin to combat at the grassroots level because the government don't care? I think it's about like, how can like activate these communities and when the government is not there. So how can you become create activists out of communities, and who are the communities, right? As Marina also said, if anyone wants to jump in on that. Maybe Nina?
Maybe Nina? much more in the waste, but
Yeah.
pollution is something that is powerful to us to answer, but deforestation is something that I think Nina has the powerful
exactly.
knowledge.
Exactly.
Okay. So I think that this is such an important question and issue, especially in developing countries, and that it's also very difficult to answer, and there's no absolute just one answer. But I think that it's very important to focus on alternative solutions when this happens. Like there's always that tension between immediate action and governance support, and if it's always something that we have encountered frequently in our work, even in my personal work outside of Gate Forest. But of course, grassroots initiatives are absolutely critical starting points that demonstrate what's possible. Creating models that can be replicated, and just for example, to like initiating community-led monitoring of ecosystems, creating sustainable livelihood development, and local conservation agreements that can drive like very meaningful change when broader support is limited. However, I think that while we do begin with community action, we still need to kind of be we still need to simultaneously work with the government. So I think because effective scaling of solutions would really require working collaboratively with different stakeholders, which we have talked about earlier. Working with private institutions, the public sectors, and the civil society. So um, it really requires that sort of some level of governmental partnerships. And in our experience, framing conservation in terms of climate resilience, we build these bridges, um, just as just a stepping stone for what can happen in the bigger climate ecosystem.
And just to jump in quickly, I mean, it's of course Nina is the expert on this. I think in my view, some of the best forms of grassroots activism is also holding governments accountable, because governments are committed, their international agreements, their national agreements, where they have made commitments in reduction of air pollution, of deforestation. And our job is, as a citizen of a particular country, is to hold them accountable. Our job as the UN is also to support civil society in doing this. So, again, not a very, direct answer, but I think that's something that I would look into too. What are the commitments that countries have made, and how are they delivering on them?
Yeah, those are really good points. Because as I said, it's not only about deforestation, it's grassroots also, and I think it's there are the commitments the government doing, and the pressure of the people also. You can start small as a grassroots, and then you can get these partnerships going. Cool. So as a final question for everyone, as I want to wrap up this in a high note with this amazing panel. So when you look forward, what are innovative applications that you see of new technologies, blockchain, or let's be open? It doesn't need even to be so direct in technology, but like anything that you see that it's innovative applications that most excite you in scaling meaningful impact in the climate action, in the climate sector. And let's start with Anna, maybe.
I don't know if the answer is technology, of course, that is going so fast, and is technology coordinated with the educational behavior. I think education is one of for me, has a little bit of crisis and as well a big motivation for changes in climate, because as I mentioned before, the the new generations as the different way to see the technology. And the educational way to apply for these technologies is the most powerful thing, and we will need to do. I mean, I am speaking as a businesswoman, but as well I am speaking as a mom, checking that how this generation is using the technology, that sometimes is afraid, but sometimes it's like amazing to see the way to collect the knowledge they have in a very short time. But everything is like we have to follow this educational. Decentralizing I like, because it's the decision of a different mix of population we have here, of different kind of roots and educational and cultural stuff we have, and ecosystems that we are living, and geographies that we are living. And the third one will be, as I mentioned before, any kind of tool is the transparency, but with respect, with this transparency, of course, obviously respecting our private life, but as well connecting this mix of community. So is the balance between what is the real private, what is the real transparency, and really with all this powerful AI, these powerful apps, this powerful user-friendly, is difficult to say because they are going so quick. But I think to continue in that way is one of the things I hope we can do it. And as well that always is the world is moved with business and finance to sustain us, is our tool, the capital. So to empower this in a is quite good to use this capital, to use these funds in a very properly way in technology and all these social and sustainability impacts and educational impact. This for me is very abstract because it's difficult to answer in a tools or technology, but it's the vision I would like really to, that we are speaking about a lot of study cases that were successful, and the new study cases will be successful in our sector, since Marina and Nina and my sector.
Great. Who maybe Marina, you want to talk a little bit about your vision, what exciting you in innovative applications looking forward?
Yes, and I'll be super short because I know we're a little bit we're running out of time. But I think what brings me the most excitement in piecing together, some of these health and climate initiatives and technology, is seeing what answers and solutions the communities that I'm working with are coming up with. Because it's not me, it's not you guys, it is the people who are kind of imagining what's next for them, that are going to come up with the best and most productive solutions. And honestly, also, events, I'm excited about continuing these conversations and having this exchange of knowledge. I'm watching the chat, and I think there are, similarities, answers, questions that we can, again, because by virtue of being in our bubbles, we don't get to share as often as we should. So I'm just excited to carry some of these conversations forward and make them into actionable projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Nina?
Hi. Okay. So I guess just first just to give kind of like a sort of gate forest focused things that we're looking forward to. But I think, it's also important to take note that these solutions that we have could also translate to different sectors, and that just being part of this panel creates so much exciting opportunities. And for example, I'm looking forward to see how climate and health with Marina's work could integrate with blockchain technology, and there's really so much possibilities. So at least for us, we're really excited about converging AI and impact monitoring. So kind of connecting this dynamic real world impact monitoring on the ground with blockchain and digital certificates. And since AI models are becoming more and more sophisticated, they can be this powerful tool in making funding decisions based on real data to create more objective and responsive support systems for conservation. We're also just really excited to work with individuals, communities, and organizations within and outside of the Web3 space that align with our vision and values. So, this is just like a short call to action of like, please reach out to us if you'd like to learn more about our initiatives and explore potential collaborations. And also would like to briefly promote our participation in the Gitcoin rounds and Octant. So as I've mentioned, we are a small nonprofit. So really, these small donations would really help us scale our impact and reach more communities on the ground. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this panel. Thank you for everyone. It was really great to hear about all this connection of, financial, climate financial flows, biodiversity conservation, waste management, how important it is to, work with local communities and look at the people, what they are doing and the work they are doing grassroots and how to scale that with, with connection or collaboration with organizations, non-profits, governments. And I'm really happy to see all this connection, even though it's like different kinds of fields, how they all connect and how can work together. And I'm really happy. So I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your ideas and everything you said. And I'm looking forward to see what comes out in the conversation that flows. And if you want to start the conversation keep the conversation going. There is the speed networking now going on. Then you can, get paired with amazing people and talk to them. And so hope to see you there. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Nina. It was really, really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, Marina.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, colleagues. Great. Bye. Bye.